Hi, Laisa. So it's your last set of essays. Let's take a look at what you've written here today. Green energy is the topic. So here's what you wrote. Countries around the world are getting more attentive to renewable types of energy. Some specialists in the field hold the position that green sources of energy lower the impacts on nature, while other professionals think about the drawbacks that this innovative technology could bring to the current scheme of power distribution. I believe that green energy presents benefits that would affect positively the Earth by reducing pollution and costs. This essay will discuss both points of view using examples from Harvard University and the University of Sao Paulo to better demonstrate them and support arguments. Okay, this is fine. I'll talk about a couple of things that I would like to see here. Very good. One of the things that I want to mention was grammatically right here. You should not put the adverb positively between the verb and the object. You see, it's a rule in English grammar that you should never separate the verb from the object. So, if you want to include an adverb, the adverb either needs to come before the verb, the main verb, or it needs to go at the end of the sentence. So, in other words, it should say, green energy presents benefits that would positively affect the earth, or green energy prevents benefits that would affect the earth positively. So by the end of that clause, okay? So that's how you would do that. But the way you've placed it here was a little awkward. Let's see. Now, I didn't really like this them because it wasn't entirely clear what it referred to. You had points, you had examples, you had two universities here. So when you say to demonstrate them, it's not entirely clear which of the plurals in that sentence the them is referring to. So be careful with this kind of thing. I'm not going to lie to you. I did feel like this introduction was a tiny bit too long. And the reason why I say that is because, let's see. Well, if you look, I mean, yeah, it's a little shorter than your body paragraph, but not by a ton. I'm generally in favor of short, concise introductions that rephrase the topic, present your position, and then just move on. Because you're not going to get any points by developing a very long, kind of drawn out introduction. Your introduction should do just those two things: introduce the topic by rephrasing it and present your position. Anything other than that is essentially time wasted, because what you could do instead is develop your body paragraphs. So that's what I'd like to see. I think you could have shortened this a little bit, and then maybe we'll see if you needed to. Maybe you didn't even need to spend more time on your body paragraphs. But that's just one thing I want to mention. Let's take a look at your body now. Researchers and politicians have developed innovative ways to provide cleaner energy to society, such as the sun and wind as sources of power. They are called green because they come from the environment and are inexhaustible resources, which makes them, you can't say costly cheaper. No, costly means expensive. All right, it's a synonym for expensive. So, which make them cheaper and more accessible. You need to do this kind of structure because you have this and here. So if this is in the comparative, this has to be in the comparative as well. So which make them cheaper and more accessible. Still, renewable energy does not damage the environment in the same way as fossil fuel does. All right, now I didn't really like still here. I think what would have made more sense is furthermore, moreover, additionally, one of those. Okay? To illustrate, a study from Harvard University compared two regions using solar energy and oil fuel sources of heat for houses in the most, not in the most sunshine. It should be in the sunniest city in the United States. The research pointed out that the region with more solar-powered houses presented less erosion and climate-related problems. No, let's try that again. Presented less erosion and fewer climate-related problems. The reason why is because erosion is uncountable, and so you'll use less, but problems are countable, and so you have to use fewer. So, then the region that uses oil fuel to heat the houses. This finding has been used to support and advocate the implementation of renewable sources of energy around the world. Okay, let's see. So, let me see here. There was something. Let me tell you what I thought needed a little more work. Now, you're supposed to talk about it being cost effective and environmentally friendly. And I felt like you did talk about it being environmentally friendly here. Less erosion, climate related problems, and that's fine. And then here, that was fine. Then you have this long kind of example. You had one little reference to it being cost effective, but it wasn't really enough. So you really didn't develop that part of the topic as much as you should have. Um, and I kind of felt like it took you a while to get to this point. So check this out. There's a lot of language here, but you're not really getting to the point as fast as you probably should. Like some of this just felt like a little superfluous. And you weren't getting to the point. So what I would have liked to see here instead of all of this is something like research has shown that green energy is both cost effective and better for the environment. Okay. It helps. It helps reduce cost because it is an inexhaustible resource coming from the sun, the wind, blah blah blah, whatever. Um, Thereby making it less expensive to acquire. Okay, so that for me would have really made a lot more sense, and that would have covered this idea of it being cost effective. And then you could have gone into some of this about about it being good for the environment. Okay, so I wanted to see that here. And again, a clear topic sentence, really pointing out very clearly and plainly that that green energy is beneficial both for the environment and for economy. All right, let's see. On the other hand, now we've talked about this before, I believe. We don't use on the other hand unless we have written already on the one hand. These two go together and you have to use them together. So if you use one, it's not right to not use the other. You have to use them both. So if you need an expression which shows some sort of contrast, that you're changing sides, that you're doing something like this, then you can simply say, having said that, that being said, in contrast, despite what has been mentioned, any of those would be appropriate. So, despite what has been mentioned, there is a well-established and useful system of energy of petroleum, coal, oil, and natural gas. The entire structure works thoroughly to provide energy, not works thoroughly, wrong tense, because you've got this for years and years. So this should be instead, the entire structure has worked thoroughly to provide energy for years and years. Most conservative specialists claim that traditional systems of energy should be maintained even though they impact the environment and cost impressive amounts of money. They advocate that the system justifies its cost and assures countries of essential services. The University of Sao Paulo performed an inspection on houses and businesses powered by wind energy in coastal cities in Brazil. They concluded that wind energy is still not reliable to act as the only source of energy, as people using this type of system experience at least 3 days with less energy in the last year. That issue is still a threat to the supply of energy and can be harmful to businesses and households. Okay, so I again felt like there was a lot of superfluous language here, and it took you a while to get to your point. So, like, I really felt that a lot of this, I was kind of thinking to myself, all right, Laisa, what's your point? What are you telling us? Where is the central idea? Now, we should be able to detect the central idea very, very early in that paragraph. In fact, it should be very clear from that first sentence if possible. So you wrote that there's a well-established and useful system, but that's not really telling us what your central idea is. So something that would be more clear is, despite what has been said above, there can be no doubt that, um, in fact, I'm going to tell you something else here. You really talked about the benefits of fossil fuels, but check this out. Um, they're not asking about fossil fuels. They're asking you about green energy only. So you decided to take this paragraph and talk about the benefits of fossil fuels, but the essay didn't ask you about that. They asked you about the problems of green energy. So in going to all of this length, you're not really talking about the side that you're supposed to be talking about. Now, I understand that there is this um, kind of, conflict, this kind of dichotomy, fossil fuels versus green energy. But in talking about how fossil fuels are good, that does not mean you are telling us why green energy is bad. All right. So this was the wrong focus here. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I hope that makes sense. You're supposed to be talking about green energy only and why it may not provide energy security. To do that, you may, of course, need to talk about fossil fuels, but your focus should not be only fossil fuels, okay? You got down to green energy here, this example about wind energy, only here in the middle of the paragraph. So again, I found that the focus wasn't as tight as I would like it to be. All right. So I started off telling you how you should start this paragraph. I'm going to shift it around again. So something like, despite what has been said, there are certainly some problems that exist with the implementation of green energy as an energy source. One of the problems is in its availability, okay? Or that demand exceeds the supply. You could have said something like that. And then you could have talked about how, there's not enough wind energy in Sao Paulo to provide electricity. Now, another part of energy security is also the cost. Can it be available at a reasonable cost? So that was something you could have talked about as well. All right. So again, I want you to get to the point. I want you to get to your central idea much earlier. Okay. So work on that a little bit. Make sure that you have a clear topic sentence that makes it absolutely crystal clear what the paragraph is about. So, to summarize from the examples given, there are many aspects that need to be considered to enable the implementation of green energy in developed and developing countries. However, it is undiscussable, that's not the right word, okay, definitely not. Indisputable, I think is what you mean, that more environmentally friendly energy sources are expected to increasingly grow in importance. Okay, that's fine. All right. So it's a nice essay in so many ways, but I really felt that this would probably suffer a little bit in coherence and cohesion because there was a lot of, I thought, extraneous information. And it would also maybe not get a score that you absolutely want in task achievement because, again, you included some information that wasn't really relevant, like the positives of fossil fuels, even though that's not what they asked you. Okay, so keep those things in mind. I thought that for the most part, your grammar and your vocabulary were very strong. So that leaves task 2 done and out of the way. Let's take a look at your letter about the dog. Dear neighbor, I am writing to kindly inform you about an unpleasant situation and try to solve it in the best way we can. Here you just need a full stop, not do it, just full stop after can. My name is Laisa and I live next door to you. My husband and I just moved to this building because our family has grown since the arrival of our baby girl last month. We notice that you have a very active and funny dog. Although we realize that dogs can be loud, we're having problems making our baby take a nap. Careful, get rid of that S. We are having problems making our baby take naps during the day and even sleep, no S, at night. Every time she falls asleep, your dog barks and she automatically wakes up crying. I would appreciate it if you could take care of this problem, whether by giving what your dog needs or by teaching it to be quieter. It would greatly help us as it has been a hard time for us, for all of us, to get some rest here. All right, there's some really good grammar there. Nicely done. Really good. I want to mention that I love animals, and I have a friend who works educating pets to behave well in society. If you need any help with this, I can share his contact and you can discuss with him some strategies to address this issue best. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know and we can talk about them. Kind regards. Okay, so I actually thought this was great. I thought you did a really nice job. I thought you had some excellent grammar, some really nice high level stuff here, like with this if clause. And again, another one here. I thought you did really, really well with all of it. I thought your tone was very nice. It was supportive while being formal. You don't know the person, right? So I thought you did really well. A couple of things that I would want to change because the tone of this was fairly formal. I wanted you to get rid of the word want and instead use the word would like. It comes out as a little too informal like this, so would like would have been a better word here. All right, I would like to mention. Then there was something else that I wanted to tell you about. Oh yeah, so dear neighbor, you didn't really give the person a name. It sounds like you might not even know the name. So perhaps what would have been more appropriate here, what instead of kind regards, would have been yours faithfully. All right. I know it feels a little formal, maybe a little too formal. So instead, if you don't feel comfortable using yours faithfully, maybe you could have just given your neighbor a name. Dear Mr. Smith, dear Mr. Jones, dear Ms. I don't know, Miller, whatever. All right. So pick a name. And then this kind regards would have been just fine. All right. So, Laisa, I think you're doing great. Like I said, I saw a lot of really, really lovely grammar here and vocabulary, and it was appropriate in so many ways. So I thought you did really well with your task one. I do think that your task two needs a little more support still. Okay. So I'm not sure when you're taking your exam, but I want to encourage you to consider maybe signing up for some more essay corrections with us so you can continue to write and you can continue to get the feedback that's been helping you along this journey. You'll see a link in the email with your video today so that you can sign up for some more essay corrections. I think, if you've been finding these helpful, that you'll find continued help, useful to you. So I hope we can continue working together. I look forward to it. Either way, let me know what you decide. I'll be happy to hear from you, okay? So best of luck, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.